Hello everyone, I am Sachin Sinha. We know that India is rapidly moving towards the EV implementation, and it has also created a lot of opportunities for the people in automotive industry. And there were people who knew it beforehand and who sensed the opportunity and also delve into it at the early stage. Now, one such inspiring figure who actually clubbed his entrepreneurship and passion with this opportunity of EV development is sitting with us today. His name is Uday Narang and he is the founder of Omega Seiki Mobility. So Uday-san, I welcome you to my podcast and thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of a discussion with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to be here. And also, what's most important is to make sure that green energy and sustainability continues to be, as we are into our new financial year, to have this podcast in the early part of the year is so great to be able to show that, despite all the challenges, despite all the different things happening in this industry, we continue to move forward.
Correct, sir. So, Uday-san, actually, I keep on watching you on LinkedIn, and then I'm quite impressed by how you present overall proposition of your leadership. Let us start with discussing about the passion you have for this industry and for your company. And I would also like to understand from you, while you apply this passion to your daily life, what kind of challenges do you see? And also as a founder, how has been your journey? I see that for last 7 years you have been active in making Omega Seiki Mobility life. So can you just throw some light on these 2-3 points?
Really, look, it's what drives me every day to make green energy and sustainability the number one part of my life. If you really think through this, your kids, your parents, our future generations, we all talk about building India to be, one of the largest economies, the third largest economy in the world, to be the third most powerful economy in the world, having the biggest equity markets. But if we don't have, on the other side, 31 of the most polluted cities in the world are in India. This subject is the main reason why I wake up every day and I come every morning. For me, it's what I say mission impossible. Green energy and sustainability is the need of the hour. We have to work towards making, and not just green energy and sustainability, water, multiple other issues for this country. We have one of the fastest growing populations in the world. We have the youngest population in the world. All of this change, I spent 30 years in US and Europe. Coming back was one of the main reasons was to make a change. I see, a lot of big people. Everybody will remember Ratan Tata ji. A lot of other people are not going to be remembered because that man did something for this country. I am a very small guy, but in my own way, in my own journey, I want to make sure that this comes to the core. It's been 7 years of building Omega Seiki Mobility, but it's been building 7 years of a village. What kind of village? To be able to make sure there are green vehicles, there are charging infra, there's an ecosystem. See, we talk about comparing ourselves to China. China is way ahead of all of us because in terms of green energy sustainability, in terms of electric vehicles, hydrogen technology, drone technology, I think there are even equivalent or if not surpassed the United States. I mean, I'm very much, it's not something that, in life you have to look at challenges, the people that have achieved ahead of you, not behind you.
Yes.
And so I think India has a long way to go. There has been many challenges in terms of building business, whether it's been building the vehicles, whether it's been making sure that the ecosystem supply chain was there, whether there was financing, whether there was capital availability. There was a whole lot, whether it was FAME 1, 2, 3, PMI, all of this. But I think, what I am really proud of and what I'm really seeing as a great way of doing is what I'm seeing is all the big players. And when we started this journey 7 years ago, majority of the big OEMs were not part of it. Today, every big OEM, and I'll be honest, apart from us being one of those startup OEMs, I don't see any other but only the big players. I look at that as a very big positive. I look at that as an environment where the big boys and girls have said they want to come to the party. They believe green energy sustainability is important. They believe that there is a future for green energy sustainability. And I think, that is something that is a payoff well enough for me. Life में ऊपर नीचे चलता है. Sometimes you get success, sometimes you get failure. Until you get failure, I don't think anybody, I want to reach out to all the young men and women out there who maybe are watching this podcast, that failure is a way. If आपने failure taste नहीं किया, success का मजा ही नहीं आएगा. So I think, I've in my life had many, many failures. I've had many successes. But I'll be honest, when working in this environment, working in building a business here, trying to make sure that Omega Seiki, and it's not just about Omega Seiki Mobility, it's about building this entire ecosystem for all of us, for the future generation. 50 years from now, I think what's going to matter is how have we made a difference in this. And I think OSM, myself, my entire team, the energy is, when you have a mission, I don't think I come to work looking at how many problems I have. I look at how many solutions can I give. And you know what? Some days are not so good. But then, there's always a tomorrow. And I think waking up the next morning, sometimes we're not sleeping all night, working through and having the next sunshine and being at the gym or doing something that tells me there is so much more work to be done. And I think for me, this is mission, we say mission impossible, but this mission is for me one of the most important parts. Success and failure will depend in different ways. For some, success is raising a lot of money. For some, success is to putting a lot of vehicles. For some, success is bringing change. And मैं पिछले 7 वर्षों से जो भी यहाँ कर रहा हूँ, it's about change. And I think, I hope that, even if 1 or 2 or 3 entrepreneurs or OEMs at the high level have come in looking at us, I think I've got my payoff. बाकी तो हार जीत चलती रहती है.
Great, sir. I think we need more entrepreneurs, like you on the field. And that's how, as you said, the change, which is I think probably one of the most important things while you are leading a business or whatever. So that is something which is very much required because that changes the whole perspective. The change changes the whole perspective of entrepreneurship. Uday-san, as I said that, you were probably one of the front runners. You sensed the opportunity of EV development in India at quite an early stage. So dived into it. How do you see the future of EV in India? And also, if you can throw some light on the exports which will happen in probably next 5 to 10 years, from India, because a lot of people are coming up in this domain. Lot of startups are popping up daily who wants to make EV or a part to get tier 3 to part for an EV. So how do you see it?
Look, I think there is I think the journey अभी तो सिर्फ ट्रेलर शुरू है, मूवी तो अभी बाकी है, बहुत कुछ, there is a whole lot of work to be done. I think whether it's EV, hybrid, hydrogen, new technologies, Gadkari ji, Honorable Transport Minister talks about ethanol. There's so many new things. For me, this is a journey. We say in America, change with the time, or time will change you. So in this journey, you've got to be EV say hybrid ka zyada kaam aayega, whether it'll be hydrogen, whether it'll be new technologies. I think you got to continuously be on the move, whether it's going to be fixed battery, 15-minute fast charging, 5 BYDs coming up with 5-minute fast charging. So this world is changing continuously. I think all of us have to continuously work towards bringing new technologies, more vehicles on the ground. In America, they say more boots on the ground, more vehicles on the ground, more green plates, not just in tier 1 cities, but 2, 3, 4. The देश बहुत बड़ा है, इसमें बहुत सारा काम होना है. I think we continually see a growth. I think what's going to be clear is that, honestly, 3-wheelers, and I want to say to everybody, 3-wheelers when we started this journey was not considered important. Today, it's sexy. Everybody, I'm seeing everybody. Hero just did an acquisition of a startup just 2 weeks ago. Everybody wants to be in this game. The 3-wheeler, the 2-wheeler, the LCVs, 1 to 3.5 ton, have got market. Why? Because it's going to be changing the total cost ownership model works. And so I think for everybody, this is something that is going to be part of change. In India, I'll be honest to say, people don't care about the environment. They care about meri jeb mein kya bacha. And I think the 2, 3, and the 1 to 3.5 ton trucks, electric, can be cheaper than ICE. We at OSM are working on it. We've done it on the 3-wheelers. We're going to be doing it the trucks, which are coming very shortly. The 2-wheelers have been a success. I think if you look at the growth of EV is higher. This area has a lot of growth. You come back on exports. We at OSM are going to make a very big announcement. We're setting up a massive plant in the Middle East for exports to Africa and the rest of the world. I think that there is a huge amount of 3 to 4 lakh vehicles get sold just into Africa. And they are primarily ICE, sold by 2 big OEMs. The Chinese are in there selling electric. I think there's a huge opportunity. We are testing our vehicles in Latin America. We are testing our vehicles in Vietnam, in Philippines, in Indonesia. There is a whole lot of work getting done. I want to be part of that. OSM was always think local, act global. We are working and building a global network. I think there's opportunities not just in the OEM side, but in battery, powertrains, motors. I mean, I think there's a huge market that is being developed. And I think more and more we develop, the cost comes lower. I want to really congratulate the Delhi government. Great to see them saying by 2030 there's going to be no diesel, there's going to be no CNG, it's going to be all electric. We want this all across the country. We want this, and it'll only work if the TCO model works. And I think right now we are working towards it. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I think anybody who thinks they're going to make quick rich. You talked about startups. I tell out to all the startups, take your time, give it longevity. Don't think you're going to do round A, B, C, D and be done. There is just a whole lot of closed up startups on that journey. Play for the long game. Work. This is not T20 cricket. This is not even 5-day cricket. This is a 20-day cricket. You got to be in this for the long haul. You got to work on quality, service, systems. The biggest problem, even the big startups have had a problem, is service. Work on service. Work on spare parts. Because, these are consumers that are going to be, could be your mother, could be my sister driving these vehicles. We have to have safety. We have to have a long-term supply chain available. So I think this is a lot of work to be done. I think the government has done what it has. Don't depend on the government too much going forward. They've made it very clear that the subsidy is over, or if it's very little. And I think we all, public-private partnerships, have to lead to build this.
Great, sir. So, thank you so much. It's quite insightful what you said. Now, so one side is the manufacturers or the innovators, like, companies like Omega Seiki Mobility, who know what is going to come up, and they innovate, manufacture and give it to the market. On the other side, the users who actually have to buy and use these vehicles or the systems. What kind of sentiments do you see on their side? Because I'm also a user, you are also a user, and if I am going to buy a new car or a new vehicle for, say, transport or my business or something, why do I take a decision that I don't go for a gasoline and go for EV? What drives their sentiments actually? That is probably something I would like to understand from you.
Very, 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 very valid point. I think if I need to convert you or anybody else, whether it's a man, woman, anybody on EV, I have to give you a couple things. I have to give you that safety. I want to have to give you that range anxiety shouldn't be there. I need to give you that service. I need to give you those spare parts. I need to make sure that I give you a comfort, that this vehicle, the biggest comfort, which I think a lot of people are not talking about, but I want to bring this up, is can you resell the vehicle? So if you buy a Bajaj or if you buy a Maruti, you can sell it anytime. Yes. Can you do that on EV? Is there a secondary market? I think I need to give you this. On top of that, I want to be able to give you that the total cost ownership model is cheaper. Right? Obviously, with the with the fuel cost, you'll save money. But will you save money over in repairs, in vehicle maintenance, in all of this? So I think the most important part in my book, okay, a lot of people say, is it cheaper? But cheaper is you can bring stuff from China, it's cheaper. But is it safe? Does it have a long life? Does it have a resale life? Does it have service? Does it have parts? Does it have customer responsiveness? Those are the things. Is there enough charging infra so that if you are living in, say, for example, Agra or Muradabad, or if you're in Kerala and going to need to go to Tamil Nadu, do you have enough charging infra that there will be I won't have range anxiety, that I'm sitting in the middle of nowhere, I'm thinking, where am I going to charge? This all goes into that. I think there's a lot of work being done. I really want to say, you can look at a glass half full or half empty, and I always look at half full. There's a lot of work that has been done. There is continuous development. When we started 7 years ago, there was no supply chain. Today, there's more and more supply chain. The government has made an impetus, but local entrepreneurs, all the big tier 2, 3 players have got into this game. So look, maybe फिर बोलता हूँ, Rome wasn't built in one day, and we want to build Rome every day here, right? So my question, my real response to you is that it's time where I think in the future you will see a huge amount of investment. You are seeing a development towards growth of EVs and other alternate energy products. And I think to convert customers like you, I need to give you all of that. And I think you are seeing that, but I think a lot more. And I think only the Mercedes and the BMWs, I think, you know why Maruti is successful? Because they sold vehicles at a cheaper price and it sold quality products, and maybe they were not world products, but they were that's what I said, think local, act global, or act global and think local, reverse. And to convert customers like you, I have to give you that basket. If I give you that basket, I give you that comfort zone, I think you'll start with maybe first everybody that has more than one will go to EV, and then the one will go to EV, right? Isko time lagta hai, there will be some time, there will be some effort, but I think there's a lot of work getting done in this space.
Yeah, correct. And so you mentioned big names like Mercedes, BMW. So I have a connecting question to that. See, there are legacy automotive engineering brands in our country also and also globally. And as you said rightly, that EV looks like future. So probably everybody would like to get into this, whether they are into gasoline or whatever. But they would like to explore the opportunity. Now going forward, I'm not talking about 1 to 3 years. I'm talking about say 10, 20, 30 years. Omega Seiki Mobility as a brand. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as probably one of the top 3 brands in the country? Or do you see some kind of collaboration happening between you and some, already established automotive engineering conglomerate? So what's your take on it?
Very, very, very valid point. I see, look, for me, I have invested, I'm bootstrapped 100%. I mean, almost 98% is my money. A 2% investment has come from XCD Corp Japan, who have been our partners. They are strategic partners. It wasn't about the money. They've brought R&D. They're working on CVT technology with us. I see Omega Seiki Mobility. But before I answer that question, I see a greener, cleaner India. I see an environment where there are multiple major players providing products that are safe, green, and people like you are converted into going EV and moving forward. OSM is going to continually we are disruptors. We're going to continually come up with new products, new design. We just came up with a 300-kilometer passenger vehicle. It's a completely disruptive product. In 3-wheelers, 300 kilometers, he doesn't need to worry about charging at all. Does it in the morning, at night when he sleeps, he does that. Or you can run it 24 hours and then do it. So I think OSM will be, I'm proud to say we were the 4th largest player last year in cargo passenger together. We just finished, this is second day of April. So I think that we will be a bigger player. In this journey, I think for me, I think I'm, if I were to tell you clearly, I see myself in the listed markets. I think I see myself as a major. Most of the startups have pretty much sold themselves out. Founders have between 6 to 10%, maybe 10 to 15 maximum by the time they go. They've done A, B, C, D, E, F rounds. I see OSM. See, for me, I see OSM over the next 50 years being an automobile player, a player that has had 50 years from now a legacy of the Bajajs, the Mahindras, the TVS, the Murugappa groups. I mean, we are running in that pack right now. If you look in the 3-wheeler sector, I mean, with the Hero acquisition, it's only the top players and me. I mean, the numbers, if you go by numbers. And I think, we see ourselves there in 3, 2, 4. We are doing drones with EVs. We're looking at the truck sector. So we want to be a very significant OEM. I think, if there is an alliance, I'm always open to look at alliances. Why? Because building an ecosystem is extremely important for me.
Yes.
So if I find a player that is like-minded nationally, internationally, I'm willing to do that. So one of the advantages I have is I own 98% of the company. So I can make those decisions. I can do those things which others cannot. So I think it's something like that, and we are, we evaluate it. But I'll be honest with you, am I here to, majority of the startups look to sell out? Am I look to sell out? No, because for me this journey is most important. What am I going to do with the money? I work 20-hour days, 7 days a week. So for me, this is my life. I'm not going to say there's any work-life balance or it's anything important. But for me, I want to make a change. And I want to be part of the change of this country. And I think that is what OSM is going to be about. I am committed to hundreds of the employees that work at OSM. They are my family. In Spanish, I call them La Familia. So it's important. Their futures, their development, them becoming entrepreneurs is also very important for me. So it's I come from a very different mindset. That does not mean that my mindset is right. For me, I had success at a very young age. I worked hard on Wall Street, but I also want to be part of making a change in this country. Now, obviously, money is required. I've invested significant capital. I will continue to invest. We will have partners. So, but I think for us, to answer your question, we'll be listing markets. We are in the middle of a pre-IPO, and in the next 12 to 15 months, we will do an IPO. It'll be an IPO where the founder has a very large majority. And I think, so it's more of something like, it'll be a first of a kind in India. And I think, that's been my plan. Life is very unpredictable. I don't know what somebody is going to build up a new tariff or do something. But I think that's where we are. I'm in this for the long haul. I got nowhere to go. I've left my shores in Switzerland. I've come back home here. And I think my last dance is here.
Very good, sir. So, as you said, you mentioned about work-life balance. I also feel that probably, I say that work-life balance is kind of a myth, for those who have not understood it yet. Because you have to mix your work with your life. If you're not mixing it, then you are kind of, getting yourself involved in something which probably you're not liking. So, that should become a part of your, daily routine. You mentioned about Switzerland, sir. I also like that country, and you mentioned you worked over there.
I lived there it's my home. My home is Switzerland, but I've come back here.
Why? That's my question.
I've come back
because
because I want to make a change. Yeah. I moved to Switzerland from the States about 11 years ago, but I've spent most of my time here. It's a beautiful country. It's clean, green, everything. I want to make a change. I said to you, what's driving me every day, even the most toughest days, toughest mornings or nights, you can't do this. People who know me, people who have seen me, you don't put this kind of energy, you don't put this kind of money. A lot of people said, the money that I've put it in here, if I just put it in real estate in Dubai, I didn't have to work, at all for the rest of my life. Yeah. It's not that. Some of us want to make a change. And I think I came back because I want to make a change. I want to make a difference. I think if I wanted to get to the top of the hill, I'm not even, 1/100th of where I want to go. So my energies, my focus, my money, my partnerships, my alliances are there. I do believe that alliances are going to be important. For me to scale up and fight all the big boys and girls, I'm going to continually have to align folk partners and go to the financial markets. I come from a financial market. I was a hedge fund manager for almost 25, 28 years. So I understand the markets a little bit. And so I think it is something but the biggest important point is, one thing I have seen, the captain that keeps the boat in the ocean the longest, they are the ones that actually get across the shore. There's a great movie, I don't know, you guys are young, but, Forrest Gump was a movie where Tom Hanks has done a phenomenal job. He came back from the Vietnam War and he, had started up, somebody said, become a shrimp farmer. And he bought a shrimp boat and there were hundreds and hundreds of shrimp boats out there. And for 6-8 months, he made no money as a shrimp farmer. Then one day, there was a storm coming and all the rest of the boats left and went back to the shore. He took the boat out into the ocean. The reason why I'm telling you this story is when the storm came, everybody's boats got broken. He was the only boat left. He cleaned up. So for me, life is about challenges. Life is about failures. You have to take it. And so for me, if it means I got to run this alone, I'll run it alone. Success, as I said, success and failure is a part of life. I'm not scared of failure. I think the biggest thing is 90% of people or 95% of people are scared of failure. अगर डर कोई भगा दो तो फिर किसी चीज से डर नहीं है, right? So I think that's the mentality I have. I think hopefully I have the energy, I have the people, but it's my teams, it's the members of my family, it's the members at OSM that are helping me build this, and hopefully, we'll be able to. I think we've done we've fought off pretty hard for the last, out of the 7 years, at least the last 4 years, we're always in there in the top 4, 5, and I think we'll be there. If not, लोगों की जिंदगी तो खराब करूंगा, उठाऊंगा, बाकी OEMs को बोलूंगा बेटर प्रोडक्ट्स बनाओ, बेटर प्राइसिंग दो, उसमें एक ही विक्ट्री होगी कंज्यूमर की, आपके दर्शकों की, सबकी, वही मेरी विक्ट्री है.
Yeah, I think that is also probably one of the responsibilities of a disruptor is, and you are an industrial disruptor. And I'm sure, with the kind of energy you have, with that energy, you will definitely be able to create more and more leaders within your organizations like you. And that is something, which will drive the ecosystem and the dream forward.
That's right.
So that's very, very nice of you. It's a very good point and nice story which you presented. And okay, sir, now we see that, the globe says all eyes on India. Everybody looks at India as a superpower, industrial superpower and rising superpower. And people think that India probably could be the next big thing and it will lead the world in many ways. One is definitely the industrial revolution, and also there are many things. Now you as a company, as an OEM, you work with also government policies very closely. I'm sure you would be, very closely watching them. What do you think? Do you think that this particular perspective of the globe about India, is it a bubble which will soon? Or do you think it is really going to happen in time to come?
Look, I think, we've got to stop thinking, can we copy the model of outside for here? India is a model. See, हम लोग क्या करते हैं? China ने ये किया, China ने वो किया. US ने ये किया. हम कह रहे हैं वहाँ से learn करो. लेकिन model make it which suits India. So, do I see a couple of things work for India? A couple of things don't work for India. Listen, the government has done a lot in this. Can the government do more? Our government will never do what the Chinese or the American or the European governments do. They invest serious amount of money. They keep putting money at work. They build huge infrastructure and they do huge. But I don't think, we're talking about it openly. I think this government and central and state government has done as much as they can. We cannot ever expect them to do what others, specifically Chinese, American, European governments do, the Japanese and the Koreans. There is a limited amount of funds. This country needs money for healthcare, education, farmers. So there are bigger agendas than EV or green energy sustainability. I understand that. We have a 1.4 billion population, but what I can tell you is India has the youngest population. We have the youngest population at 35 years. We have an education, we have English-speaking population. We have an energetic population. We need to build India. We have to just continuously build this country. Now, I think we are too focused on how the American model or the European model or the Chinese model. India is so different. I've had an opportunity over the last 7 years visiting across the country. I go to the south, I go to the north, I go to the west, I go to the east. It looks like there's so many different countries, so many cultures. किसी को कुर्ता पसंद है, किसी को पजामा पसंद है, किसी को सलवार पसंद है, किसी को सूट पसंद है, किसी को कुछ पसंद. There are so many things. It's such a complex country. It's, EU has 26, 27, whatever country. We have, I would say, so many different places, so many different districts have different way of looking. So I think we have to take those experiences from outside. We have to customize it according to us. I think that this journey is India economy. I definitely believe India is the third largest economy in the world. Do I believe that we'll be the third largest equity market? Yes. But I want to make sure that we don't only lift. See, we seem to very much enamored by our cricketing stars and Bollywood stars and a few billionaires. That's not India. The average man and woman is still down here on the ground.
Yes.
Unless we lift those people, unless we lift those men and women of this country, I will tell you, ये जो हम देखते हैं कि बहुत इंडिया आगे बढ़ रहा है, वो नहीं बढ़ेगा. We need to be seriously involved in lifting those 1.5 billion में 1.1, 1.2 billion who are earning 500, 700 rupees. We have to lift them. Then only. Because I don't want this country, a few people, a few oligarchs, I'm being very bold in saying, controlling the country. Then we are I'm going to make a very controversial statement. We're across the border. You see that country has gone down. We have an opportunity. We have a real opportunity in this country to make India. India was great again. We have to make India great again. It is. It will be the Sone ki Chidiya. But I think we have, ye sara time nahi hoga. We have an opportunity of maybe 10 years to make it happen. And I think we've got to be able to make sure that all of us, but jab tak hum wo logon ko nahi uthayenge, jab tak that public will not be lifted, I'll be honest with you, I don't think. And for that, we need to bring 48% of the population is Nari Shakti. Women education. सिर्फ लड़की उठाओ, लड़की पढ़ाओ नहीं, लड़कियों को opportunity दो, उनको एक business models में दो, उनको एक educational model दो, तभी होगा. So I'm giving you all the positive and negatives. I think that एक time span होता है, हर चीज का वक्त. Okay, I'm sorry I'm speaking Hindi because some of the need to reach out to a lot of the public. I think there is a time, and I think we have this ban. We're all excited about India. India is on everybody's map. Even, I would say, the United States respects India, and the world respects India. But har cheez ka time hota hai. And I think we are losing time. There has to be more work done on that, not just on TVs and newspapers, but on the ground. And I think that's where it's going to be done. And I think for us, I think what we are more focused on is, this Bollywood and this cricket and all of that. I think we need to be valuing the teachers, the educational, the healthcare workers, and making sure that we build that strong. We build that strong. We give opportunity to education, all of this. And I think we can build a country which can be out of this world. मैं सिर्फ एक ही चीज़ बोलूँगा. Indians, US, Canada, Australia, UAE जाके इतने success हैं. उनको यहाँ companies बनानी चाहिए. उनको यहाँ opportunity देनी चाहिए. We have to change our structure a little bit. I think a lot of work's being done, but I think this is a very critical, and time is continually ticking. That's the way I want to say, right? And we all have to realize that.
Okay, Uday-san, so we talked about a lot of things. Now I would like to take you to the manufacturing side. Because you are a full-time manufacturer, and then you will have day in day out a lot of challenges related to the same. I would like to understand from you that when you are actually managing your forward and backward integration of the components per se, then you would definitely have some tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, because everything you cannot manufacture in-house, right? Obviously. So when it comes to component sourcing for you, what kind of challenges do you see in market? And do you see that whatever you need to make your product successful is available in India, or sometimes you also have to keep an eye on the manufacturing in other countries like China or something like that?
A lot has changed.
Yeah.
A lot has changed. When we first started 7 years ago, there was a lot of there was to getting supply chain ready for volume. Wasn't there. But then there was not the market. See, the key point that time was, can we get enough, a supplier would say, in order for me to invest, I need this much volume. So it was that chicken and egg, sorry for the vegetarians, there was always that chicken and egg story. You go to a supplier, you say, look, I need this part, the total volumes were not high, so the cost would be higher. So there was this journey has been, a lot of suppliers said, okay, I'll invest for the long term. So it took time. Obviously, the conviction of the market came over a period of time with Phase 1, Phase 2, PMI drive, the volumes picked up, the government was supportive, the ecosystem was getting built, there was money there. So I think obviously a lot has changed. We made a clear idea that we were not going to buy anything from international, it has to be locally made, whether it was powertrain, motors, obviously the cells were coming from China, Korea, wherever for the batteries, but everything else was for us, India made right from day one. We sold less volumes initially because we thought, okay, why don't we take time and make sure that it was localized? We always had that mentality. Did it mean that I didn't visit Korea, Japan? I have not been a big fan of China, even though they're doing super work. I felt that our relationships with Korea and Japan were more stronger. Omega is a 55-year-old company. We've had long history with Korea and Japan. I did that. That did not mean that we weren't keeping up on what was going on in China, but we avoided, I'd be very honest to say, that's one country I personally have not visited. I visited everywhere in the world. I haven't visited because I felt that it was something that I wanted a win-win partnership. That doesn't mean that people have not done deals in China. They have, but I have not been part of that. I now today we are finding localized manufacturers build more and more because the conviction has come, because the longevity of the business has come, cost is coming down, volume is coming. You see Bajaj coming in and putting 4,000 passenger vehicles in EV a month. So that tells you the conviction of the ecosystem I kept talking about earlier about building the village. So that conviction is there. There is work that is going on, and we at OSM have continuously helped, whether it is tier 1, 2 suppliers as well as startups. So I'm very much proud to say we're going to be promoting a startup in the in the motor as well as in the onboard charger in a very near future. We've worked with multiple players in battery, powertrains, motors, and we continue to do that. And it does not mean we're not learning from international, we're not learning from what's happening in China or what's happening with BYD or CATL or what's happening in Korea, Japan, US, and Europe. We continually align forces. OSM has been aligned in supply chain. I'm very involved in supply chain, and I have been continuously. The good part today is all the big tier 1 OEMs in India today are now part of this. So it was not only just Sona Comstar, but Motherson Sumi, Minda, everybody's in this game, which is going to help. And I think supply chain is going to get better, which means the conviction is there, cost is going to go down, and my talk to you earlier of TCO model of EVs below ICE and CNG is going to come true. You'll get volume, you'll get a clean and green India, you'll get a cheaper vehicle, you'll get a quality vehicle, and you'll be able to get. So that is where I see my dream. I'm a big Martin Luther King follower, and his famous speech on I have a dream. I have a dream that in the next 5 to 7 years, we will have so much localization, we will have so much supply chain that we'll be able to compete at a global level on everything.
Great, and thank you so much. It really means a lot that you explained it in a very good way, very clear path. Now, with subjects like TCO and sustainability, like for manufacturing, or I would say specifically the Indian manufacturing, what are the key aspects, according to you, to make the Indian manufacturing successful? If you can,
I think clearly, you have to invest in R&D. You have to invest in manufacturing technology, teams, making sure that you have the right teams, you have the right corporate culture. Manufacturing is most people, young people. If you ask them, do you want to work on a factory floor? They rather not. They want to work in IA, robotics. But I'll tell you what, to make India great again. To make that Sone ki chidi I talk about, manufacturing has to come on the front line. I continuously, I'm talking about this, at conferences or in the public or in the news or at speeches or whatever. Manufacturing with the right partnership, with the right technology, keeping up to, whether it's factory 4.0, whether it is developing robotics, IoT, automation, working with partners. We are working on multiple fronts on this. You will see in 25, 26, and 27, 28, multiple players that we are working to develop our manufacturing. Actually, later this week, end of the week, I have a meeting with a very large international player on how do we move our manufacturing to world class. How do we develop our systems, our people, our human capital that I talk about, and our overall company towards that, using experiences internationally, working in India, also keeping costs in top. And I think you will see OSM do a lot in this space in the near future. It's a subject that is very important to me. Efficient manufacturing, defectless manufacturing, zero defect, working through all of this. I was here last night till almost midnight with my quality teams. How do we improve it? I'm sitting with production teams, every other week on how do we work it. I spend a lot of time on the factory floor in the evenings to work with the teams to understand the concerns. How can we better manufacture? How can we increase quality? How can we reduce defects? How can we increase efficiency with all of that? And make sure that we don't increase cost too high.
Great. I think, you're kind of doing all the required things to log the future possibilities in your favor, I would say. Uday-san, also, a lot of entrepreneurs will be watching our podcast. I would request you to make a statement, though you said a lot of things already. But we see that, a lot of new companies, startups are emerging who claim to be an OEM for an electric vehicle. We see not in hundreds, but maybe in thousands the companies who say that they are OEM for electric vehicles.
That's right.
And I think that this number will only increase in a country like India. What is your clear message to them? Because everybody wants to make their company successful. Okay, so what could be that mantra? Because India is a big market, and also if we talk about exports, it becomes even bigger. So what's your mantra for them so that they also feel what kind of path should they take to make themselves successful? So
very valid point. I want to say clearly to everybody that this is a marathon, not a sprint. What you really need to do is, if you have an idea, I was just, somebody sent me over, there was some 79-year-old gentleman and a 59-year-old Shark Tank, maybe just recently, with a three-wheeler cargo and passenger saying they needed to get 3 crores and they were going to sell, they were going to compete with Bajaj. Let's be honest, that's not going to happen. I think if you have a startup, build a product that is differentiational. Find something that the customer really needs that is not there in the market. Find something that has safety, quality. And I'll tell everybody, being an OEM is the hardest. I have taken off, in my 30 years of experience, I've been a huge investor. I'm building an OEM. We've been in manufacturing. It is not easy. It is a long term. If you are ready for pain, I love the NVIDIA CEO Jensen. He says, if you have not faced pain, you don't know how to build a company. So if you're ready for pain, you're ready for, but you have to build a product that the market needs. There has to be some differentiation in something that is missing in the market. You have to understand you cannot run on burn model. You have to run a sustainable journey. This is not a quick get rich. This is not Shark Tank. Yep. This is life. What you see on Shark Tank is a minimal. It's like Bollywood, right? I'm saying it's good, but then, I want to say, have to be able to build a business that is not just sustainable green energy, it is sustainable business. I want to say, if you are not able to build a sustainable business, I would say, our friend Mr. Bajaj talks about not startups, calls them upstarts, right? At the end of the day, very few startups will succeed. Yes. But that does not mean that you don't work. But I think you have to build a product that is needed, that has scale, that is profitable over the long term, and something that is quality, something that is world class, and something that can change the world. This is not an easy thing. And I tell everybody, 2 करोड़ लगा के 2000 करोड़ बनाने का टाइम लगता है, और 2 करोड़ को ये सोचा कि 4 करोड़ बना के 5 करोड़ करा के भूल जाओगे. वो कस्टमर को आपने गाड़ी दी है. He and she depends on it. Yes. You're not just destroying your brand name, you are destroying a person's credibility on EVs. We all are responsibility. So I tell everybody, take the challenge, work with people, build alliances. But again, there's no quick get rich. And please, don't compare yourself, including myself. Don't compare yourself to Elon. Elon has done so much more than any of us can dream. So you can learn from him. We can learn from other entrepreneurs, not just Elon, many other. I learned from Sam Altman. I learned from everybody. And I think we can learn from the success of Bajaj, Mahindra, Tata, and many others, TVS, others. And I think you've got to play this with a thought process. And I think what has sort of changed a little bit in our startup world is कि मैं कितनी जल्दी पैसे बना के निकलूं. And that is something, please. And you know what? Don't say something outside that you don't believe. You have to be committed to this.
Yes.
Build it slowly. ये कछुए और हम बच्चे होते थे तो कछुए और खरगोश की रेस, खरगोश कभी भी नहीं जीतता, कछुआ ही जीतता है. तो वो मेंटालिटी रखो. Build businesses for the long term. And I hope, देखिए, failure, very few startups actually succeed. The failure rate is high. So I'll tell you, do you have the capability, do you have the bottle, as they say, to take that pain? I'd say evaluate yourself and don't just get into something. And make sure you understand what you're getting into. And I think, I keep saying, in the EV business, in this last 7 years, I can name you so many big players that were here 7 years ago. They are not even today. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing, if you want to be an OEM, you require substantial capital. If you don't get capital, you will be gone. And I mean, it's a podcast, I don't want to name names. If you go and do the homework, if you look at the top 7 players in the two-wheeler sector 7 years ago and today, you can get the answer. You go on the 3-wheelers and you see it. You'll see it. On the 4-wheelers. So I keep saying, startups in being an OEM, 200 स्कूटर 500 स्कूटर बनाने से कुछ नहीं होता. आपको 50 लाख स्कूटर बेचने पड़ेंगे या 50 लाख 3-wheelers बेचने पड़ेंगे, तब बनेगी गेम. So I'm sorry, I'm being very direct. You know, having an aspiration to be an OEM requires huge work, huge commitment, and a lot of sacrifices. If you're ready for it, go for it. But I'll tell you what, be ready to lose everything. Be ready to take that bullet. You know, I have done this now for 7 years, and there doesn't go a night or a morning where I am not taking pain to build a business. And I think, you know what, I hope for me and I'm more committed to the people that work for me. This is a dedication of all of them. I'm just a figurehead out here. Those are the people, the men and women that work in my organization, and that's where it is. So I'd say to everybody, I know I've stretched it, but I would want to tell all of your viewers that this is a long-term game, and that's the way it's going to be. And if you're not, you'll see I can give you history of people in this industry that are blown out.
You very rightly said. I think, I mean, I also see that there is a very high misconception in market, especially with entrepreneurs, that they always try to compare themselves with the extreme successful people, like Elon Musk, you mentioned. And that is probably the largest and biggest fault they do at the forefront, you know, before entering into the business.
वो कहाँ से पहुँचा? How much pain did Elon do?
Yes.
Does he have the capability, his mental capability? He's a madman,
Correct.
but he's one of the most clearly thought out person. But forget Elon, you know, from NVIDIA, Jensen he put so much time and effort to get where he did. And he took a lot of failure.
They definitely had a very humble path and, you know, going, you know, putting their leg on ground all the time.
That's right.
And I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs also think that the business stops at sales.
That's right.
But as you mentioned, that is where it actually starts.
Exactly.
Because, you know, I mean, if you are not taking care of the customer who's actually using your product right now, then it's a matter of time. I mean, probably you will be gone soon. So, Uday-san, I mean, thank you so much for a lot of insights that you gave us today. And I'm more than sure that, you know, for whoever will watch this podcast, if they are willing to enter into entrepreneurship, or if they are already into entrepreneurship, they can take a lot of benefits out of, you know, the words you have.
Reach out to me. Reach out to me through LinkedIn. Reach out through my social media platforms when I have time. I always respond to a lot of people. You know, I want this country, and I want to end that with this. I want this country to have such a great chance. And I said to you earlier, I don't want the Sundar Pichais, I don't want the Satya Nadellas to go to the US or Australia or Canada. Build them here, ladies and gentlemen. Bring them here. Make our country, deliver our country to make sure that all those people down there, we're lifting them up. And I think that would give you more satisfaction than taking a fat paycheck and being in the United States. I would say this is a great country. We have our problems, but you know what? इंडिया को आगे बढ़ाना हम सबका कर्तव्य है। जय हिंद, जय भारत, मिलता हूँ।
Great, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, your energy is really contagious, and I would also like to conclude this discussion by saying that I hope and I wish that you, with your great team, live your OSM dream.